All right, let's begin. Rohit, let's start with the broad strokes to understand the changes that have taken place in the automotive sector. What's been the influence of technology on how the automotive players run their business, especially when it comes to compliance?
Thank you, Gautam, for having me, and hello to Bhaskar and Sanjay as well. So excited to be talking about this sector in particular, and as just for the audience, right? We are not a auto company of any sorts, but it just so happens that a very large portion of our customer base happens to be auto and auto ancillary, right? So that's from there we have a privileged position to see a lot of things that are going on around us, right? So I think the first thing I would just mention is, like, if you broadly see the auto industry in India, right, it's actually been a reasonably well organized industry, right, compared to many other, I would say, segments of the economy, right? There have been I would say manufacturing, which has been far more, I would say, a stable supply chain planning, tier 1, 2, 3 kind of suppliers. All of these have been kind of fairly good, right? So I think the starting position was fairly decent, right? I think now what we see happening, and we see this happening in our own customer base, right? So we started off with some of the largest tire manufacturers and engine component manufacturers of the country, right? Then we added a bunch of large OEMs, Suzuki and so on and so forth, kind of two-wheelers, four-wheelers as well, and now we've been recently like adding newer age folks, like folks like Ola, Ather, and so on and so forth, right? So we are actually seeing a very different way of different evolution across the cycle, right? And it, in my opinion, it's in all 3-4 areas that you would see, and as we deal with our customers, it becomes very interesting, right? From it starts from, like, honestly, R&D and their orientation towards product. Different companies have very different orientation. What we see is fundamentally we are coming to an age where auto industry itself is imbibing modern technology and software for the first time, right? So there's a bunch of things that are changing over there, right? I see a big change that is happening on the supply chain as well, right? So I think advanced analytics, and we've been like very surprised and pleased by, like, the amount of analytical thinking that we see happening with a lot of our customers at this point of time, because they realize that all this data, which is now digitized, can tell them a lot of things that they've always wanted to know, but sometimes like between want and availability, there's the gap, right? So I see analytics coming in very sharply. It's coming on supply chain planning side, inventory optimization side, kind of communication with vendors, distributor, all of these sides as well, right? And then there is a whole lot of, I would say, digitization towards customer facing digitization, right, that we also have started to see happen, from lead management to sales funnel management and so on, that we are trying to see, right? Closer to what we do, which is in the finance area, right? I see, taxation, compliance, financing, all of these things, right, changing very sharply. Thankfully, in the automotive space, there was never a situation that there were no ERPs or and so on, right? So this industry has actually been blessed from having, like, especially after Maruti and so on, some of these things kind of in the past, right? They have a lot of systems, but these systems are now changing rapidly. And I think this whole India stack, what we call the digital India stack, a lot of these things are now being, I think, absorbed into the auto sector, right? And especially given the overall low margins in the auto industry, right, like somewhere between 5% to 10%, I think people have started to become a lot more careful about the 2%, 3%, 4% tax credits and so on that they also leave, right? And that responsibility is falling to the finance function itself, right? And they are doing some things in-house, some things they are doing with their vendors, suppliers, and distributors, and how to orchestrate with them, right? And that's where we see a lot of in general businesses going, but auto industry to actually make that leap, because they have 2 or 3 tiers of organization as opposed to many other places. So this is my starting points.